previous videos, I said that a bigger computer will be more efficient, or a bigger device. I want to talk about specifically one aspect of that, cooling, and why it's more efficient with some explanation, and then also expand it to maybe how it could apply to other cooling systems, with houses and stuff like that. So one of the main losses in cooling is that we have to pump a liquid, and this liquid throughout the system takes in heat from one place and it sucks it out the other place to cool down it. And it's also this liquid is also what actually does the act of cooling. You take this liquid and you compress it and it changes it from a liquid to a solid, or you take, so not always a liquid, it's a gas usually to a liquid, and that gives off heat, but it doesn't change the temperature. Then you change it back into a gas by expanding it, and it absorbs heat from whatever. So it heats up, you let the heat go out to the outside world, then you expand it and let in the heat back in from the inside. The side, it captures that heat. The reason why changing from gas to liquid or other things like that absorbs heat is because, first of all, think about phase changes with water. When water boils, it can be 100 degrees Celsius, a gas or a liquid. That says 100 degrees Celsius is just absorbing energy. It's not changing its actual temperature. And that's because in a liquid, you have some structure, your molecules are tied together with some structure. Not as much as a solid. A solid's even more structure. But when it becomes a gas, these molecules fly apart, so they're not gaining any speed, but they lose that structure. But that, to pull this structure apart and make them more apart, it absorbs energy. And that's how we can take the energy, absorb it to make it a gas, then release it when we make it a liquid. So that's a basic overview with that stuff. Now, whenever you move any fluid, a gas or liquid, through a pipe, there's a couple losses of efficiency. And one of the big losses of efficiency is friction. And friction also not only means you have to put extra energy to pump it throughout the whole thing, it also means that you actually make heat. Friction makes heat. Robots stick together against anything, it heats up. And that's because you have molecules just hitting each other more. Okay, so how do you, but a bigger pipe has less friction than a smaller pipe. That is because friction, one of the main things that friction occurs is the walls of the pipe. And if a pipe is very small, the walls are very close to all the water, and the walls contain more area, a bigger part of the pipe than in a bigger pipe, which can move more fluid without interacting with the walls as much. To give you an example, if you have a circle's surface area is 2 pi r. Its area is pi r squared, meaning that the area goes up with a square, or the surface area goes up with just the linear. And this means for like a pipe with one radius, the surface area is 2 pi. The area is 1 pi. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. If the radius is 2, its surface area is 4 pi. Its area is 4 pi. That's a 1 ratio. You have less than half, just making it twice as big, the pipe. You have half, the ratio decreases by a half. If you make the pipe 3 times big, it's even better. The ratio will decrease 9 times. This ratio keeps decreasing by the square. The other thing is, not only is it just the direct interaction with the friction with the sidewall, there's turbulence. And turbulence in a small pipe is a bigger deal. Turbulence is any flow that's not in the direction, it's not a steady flow. There's like mixing, it can be waves, it can be whirlpools, or anything that's just more chaotic, but it saps energy. And how turbulence happens in a pipe is through turns, where it changes direction and some of the water doesn't go in the right direction and starts causing little whirlpools or something like that. But also against the side of the walls. are the biggest cause, even in turns. Because in the sidewalls, the liquid is moving less fast than when it's moving in the middle of it, which causes some of the liquid to bend upwards. And you can see that if you have a liquid hitting any walls, it sprays in directions. If you have liquid flowing along, if you have fast moving liquids along things, you can start seeing them have ripples and stuff. But the thicker you make it, the less that effect happens with this surface as it goes away. So in a small pipe, the turbulence that starts off inside the wall might reach all the way to the middle of the pipe as water hits the sides and this gets upturned up to the top. In a very big pipe, the turbulence regions might not reach the middle sections very much or not be noticeable. So a bigger pipe also has less friction that way. And at the turns, there's less of water hits that actually directly hits the turn. So there's less friction there. Now, on the other hand, sometimes you want more surface area due to, you want more surface area because that can get rid of heat more easily. A bigger thing can have more surface area while still maintaining this balance. If I replace this big pipe with 4 small pipes, we still have this two ratio that we had before, so we don't gain the less friction. But we have to, if we were trying to move liquid at the same speed as this pipe with the radius of 1, because it has 4 pipes now, we can move it 4 times slower. That's 1/6. Now, the slower something goes, the less friction there is with fluids, because there's less of this, it hits against something less strongly, and it loses less energy of this hitting stuff. It also does less turbulence, because turbulence requires a difference in speeds to happen, and the slower you are, the less of a different speed they can be. If I'm driving 10 miles compared to 0 miles per hour, there's only 10 miles per hour difference. If I'm going 20, there's a 20 miles per hour difference, and so on compared to 0. So it goes, so now I'm talking 1/4 speed. The friction in liquids or fluids varies roughly with 1/16 with the square or the cube. So it's either 1/16 less friction then or 1/64. Both huge improvements. It's very case by case and more dependent on a lot of parameters, but a lot less friction. So a lot less heating. So your pump has to work less hard and you get less of this other energy efficiency. Also, it's easier to actually design these same things apply to pumps. The pipes apply to the pumps. The pumps experience less friction the bigger you make them and less heat loss. They can be also made to have less turbulence, which sucks away power of the pump. You can also design everything to fit together better, because the bigger you make something, the less it matters if you're 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters off. So problems with design become less and less a big deal, which makes the whole thing cheaper and works better because you have less, because the imperfections just don't matter as much. Another thing about making this whole thing bigger is, that makes it more efficient, is the farther away you can pump the heat from where it's cooling down, the more efficient it is. It's less likely that heat you're pumping away comes back inside. That's why some air conditioners have long tubes or anything actually to cool down better. Well, I hope you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to reach 4,000 watts hours in a year and 1,000 subscribers, which is really hard, but with your help, I think I can do it. Thank you very much.